the topspin forehand and the slice backhand are identical. Now I know that's a bold statement, but in the next few minutes I'm going to explain to you why the swing shapes are actually very, very similar. My name is Philip Hofmeyer, I'm from TopspinPro, and I'm obsessed with the biomechanics of tennis. One of the things that I've always obsessed about is the last, what I call the last 90 in the swing. And by the last 90, I'm talking about the last 90 degrees of the swing. That's essentially from when the racket head's pointing to the back fence to the contact point. It's that part of the stroke that dictates really the amount of power and spin you're going to end up with, because that's when the racket head is moving at its fastest, and you're delivering the racket face at the angle that you want to get the amount of spin or power you want in your shot. There's so much variety in the take-backs and all the other parts of the swing that really don't have much of an influence on the shot. You'll see the pros with all sorts of assortments of technique in those respects. But the key part, the fundamental part of the swing is this little bit over here. So if you can get that right, it doesn't matter what you do with the rest of the stroke. In fact, actually, you could even call it the final 30. It's the last 30 degrees. It's this little bit just before contact that matters the most. So whatever you do is an input to getting that bit right. Right, enough of that. But we're going to now look at this 90 degree portion of the topspin forehand and the slice backhand. So from a topspin forehand point of view, you'll start with that racket pointing to the back fence. It's that lag position we all know. The racket's sort of tilted downwards, the strings are facing down towards the court, and from there you're going to move through to contact, which is over there, right? And you can see the racket's tilted a little bit forward like that. I'll do that from behind again. At the fence, moves through 90 degrees, and you make contact over there. Right, so from there through to there. Now the slice backhand has a very, very similar part of the stroke. It also, the key part of the stroke is that position there in the bit where you're pointing to the fence. So let's start from this side view, so rear view. So the racket's pointing to the fence. The strings are like that. I know we all start the slice backhand up here, but think for a moment of the point of the swing that I'm talking about in that last 90. The strings are pointing to the fence, and from there they're going to arc through 90 degrees to make contact over there. Yeah. So from the side, that's there, which was very similar, as you can recall, to my few moments ago when I was showing the forehand, to there. So you're there, and from there you're going to make contact there. Strings slightly open, which again is exactly the opposite to the topspin forehand, which is there. So yeah, there we go. From there down to there, from here up to there. So that last 90 for the forehand is identical to the last 90 on the slice backhand, which you wouldn't expect. I know there are subtle differences between the biomechanics of the body. For example, in the forehand you hinge at the elbow, it can't go further back. The backhand hinges to start with and then it straightens. So those are the restrictions, but it's interesting that the body does, despite those restrictions, does what it can to recreate almost identical movements in those last 90 degrees before contact, because that's the most crucial part of the swing, and that's when you want to be delivering an almost identical pattern for all your shots. So I hope you find that observation interesting. It's the holiday season, as I may have mentioned, and I wanted to make sure I gave you something to think about rather than just the usual tips and drills.